Our next guest just won the MLR Championship and has played such an important part in the growth of Major League Rugby. That is Sam Windsor. If there was one word to describe Sam, I think many of us would say leadership. His leadership is evident both on and off the field, and when we met years ago, he attempted to teach me how to play rugby, and that didn't go so well. But I can't wait for you guys to hear a few rugby stories and get to know Sam a little better. So Sam, welcome to Out of the Spotlight.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie. I was only thinking today, I was like, geez, it was probably 2018, a cold winter's night down in Houston when you braved the elements to come out and attempt to learn rugby. You did great. To be fair, you did really well.
I did okay.
You did really good.
But after the tossing, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to let the pros do this.
It was good, but it set you up. You ended up doing some sideline stuff for the Sabercats and stuff. So it was almost meant to be. So it feels like forever ago.
I think so too. It really does. I just saw a picture of that day, so I'll have to post it so the listeners can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But congratulations.
Thank you. How good.
Congratulations.
MLR champion. I thought I would be an MLR champion one day, and then, the 4 years in Houston was tough and it was challenging, like most sports teams are. And I'm almost 35. So for me, it was almost like, wow, okay, time's running out. Like if I don't win one soon, I probably never will. So, really fortunate to have got an opportunity up here in New York. Really great group of guys, and we're all pretty aligned in goals and what we wanted to achieve this season. And fortunately for us, things fell our way and we got the win.
And I'm telling you that game itself, because I watched it, and that's something else that, when you met me, I knew zero about rugby.
Mm-hmm.
My sister-in-law's dad, Jason, he played rugby, coached, loved it. So I knew a little bit about it, but when we met and when I started doing the sideline reporting, I was learning. But I think once you understand it, and even if you understand a little bit of it, it's such an exciting game.
Yeah.
And I watched, not only was it a huge win for you guys, but it was emotional too at the end.
Oh, madness. It was they're kind of like I've experienced it a couple of times in my career before, those, that jubilation and elation and almost like just that feeling of relief. And it completely overwhelms you. And it's a feeling that you can't replicate. Well, I've never replicated anywhere but the sporting field, and being with the players, but then being able to go up to the stand, see Becca, she was on the field, and give her a hug. Like it was just, I don't cry often, but I'll honestly say like the tears were flowing on Saturday the other week. It was awesome.
And whoever recorded that video of you and Becca, props to them.
Yeah, it was. We had a good little crew there. And the video, I was the first one up there, and then I went and we were thanking all the crowd, and she was on the field with the rest of the wives, and so I got done, and she was just standing there. So it was amazing. She's been through it as much as I have, and she made as many sacrifices, if not more, than me to move around the country and help me follow my dreams. So to have her there on the field was just as special as having the boys there as well.
Speaking of moving around the country, obviously for those listening, you do live in New York right now, but your accent, not a New Yorker.
Yes, no, I was born in Australia, so grew up in Australia and chased the rugby dream from high school. I started playing when I was 7, and it was something that I was passionate about and got competitive at and wanted to be the best at and wanted to see how far I could take it. And opportunities presented themselves overseas after I kind of exhausted all the avenues back home to try and get a professional contract. So moved over to Europe a couple of times and then back to Australia. But before I came to America, I was playing rugby in Belfast in Northern Ireland for a team called Ulster. I had a great time there. Northern Ireland's a beautiful part of the world. Ireland itself is an amazing country. But in the world of professional sport, if you don't play a lot of first team games, you don't get bored as such, but you don't scratch that itch, if you like you're not you're not playing as high as you want to play. So at that time, Becca was living in America, I was living there. So we're doing the long distance thing, and the clock was ticking for my career, and I wanted to be playing more regularly, and the opportunity to come to America presented itself. So after about 5 months, MLR was a thing, and took an opportunity down in Houston. And for a league that was just starting up, and for a player of sort of my age, being able to be involved with a team in a league in its infancy and in its first days and years, then that was pretty special for me, and something that I felt I could have an impact on and kind of put my own touch to and influence kind of the direction of the league. So it was great, really lucky, and was fortunate to have 4 good years in Houston. And, unfortunately the results probably didn't go away, but I learnt a lot about myself and a lot about the game and a lot of what it takes to create a winning environment and what it takes to create a losing environment, and sort of that in between, and what, getting the balance right. And it took its toll on me as well, to be honest. It's not nice to lose, and to lose regularly. It sort of, it makes you hungry to win, but at the same time, there comes a point where you think, okay, I can't do anything else in my power, so maybe it's time that I take a step back from all my responsibilities that I had off the field and go back to just playing rugby and enjoying rugby for what it was and why I fell in love with it in the first place. And the opportunity to come to New York was too good to pass up. The guys that they have here and the program that they were building suited my game plan, suited the way I play the game. And it was, all my conversations with the coaches and the owners here were, I just want to come and play rugby again. And they were more than happy to do that. So it's been an amazing year. It's been really fun.
And growing up, did you ever envision yourself playing overseas or playing in Texas?
Definitely not Texas. No way. Like even Becca, when I told her we're moving to Texas, never in her, she's American. She was born in South Carolina, grew up in North Carolina. She'd never thought she'd be living in Texas. But to sort of be a pioneer of professional rugby in Texas, I wouldn't have guessed that in a million guesses if I was a kid growing up thinking that my career would take me to the South and to Texas.
Right. And how did that happen? How did that come together? I believe it was Coach Justin, right?
Yeah, so I was playing, when I moved to America, I went up to Seattle for 5 months and played club rugby for the Seattle Saracens. They're still a team. They're called Seattle Rugby Club now, but they've branched off and became the Seattle Seawolves, who won the first 2 years of MLR. And Justin took the head coach role at Houston. So my role in Seattle then was a player coach, and I was kind of coaching the back. So, he gave me the offer to come down to Houston and be a player and a coach for this new MLR professional team. And it made sense to us. It was kind of an opportunity to start, to get our own place, to sort of, for Becca and I to sort of begin our journey together as well, because we lived apart for, 4 years or so. So, and that was 2017, sort of in May of 2017. We moved down to Texas, and we've made lots of good friends there. We've got some great memories there. We had a great time there, and it kind of gave us that that introduction to rugby here in the States that we kind of needed to kind of springboard into where we are now.
Also, from what I remember, you were the first player in MLR history to earn 50 starts.
Yes, I was. So
that is so cool.
That's pretty cool. I have actually, so the MLR, I had this handy because I thought you might have asked it. So the MLR presented these to the first 50 players to get 50 appearances. So I think I was the second player to get 50 appearances, but I was the first player to get 50 starts. So I don't know how. I've sort of been plagued by injury my whole career. I've had multiple shoulder reconstructions and things like that. But I guess I got smarter as I got older. So I kind of knew what my body could tolerate and what I needed to do to stay on the field. So credit's got to go to some of the strength coaches and the medical teams that we had, in Houston and here, and to keep me on the field for that long was, that's as much theirs as it is mine. So grateful to sort of be, to have played 50 games, and there's only a few that I've missed through injury this year. But again, another special thing that the league's going to do, and something that I can look back on when my career's over and my kids are growing up, and it'll sit on the mantelpiece and got a little bit of memorabilia.
You've helped so much with the growth of rugby here, in the States. And I remember when we met, everyone, even like the media people that were there with me, like the photographers, they were like, oh my gosh, I've had maybe some interest in rugby, but the way Sam and the other guys talk about it, like, we have to come to the first game.
Awesome.
Like, we have to. And that's something that you are very well known for, just doing a lot of media appearances and things in the community. So how cool has it been to see the growth?
Yeah, it's been in Houston specifically. It's probably what I can talk about or talk to the most, because I feel like I had a hand in sort of helping that. But to see where we, on those cold nights training on that AstroTurf there at the sports park, to now the facility at Aviva Stadium, where they've got 2 practice fields. They had international teams have played there and trained there. The Eagles played a French Barbarians team there last week. To getting 2,000 or 3,000 people at the games has been unreal. So that all started on those long days and long nights, 2017, 2018, trying to entice people to come out and encourage people to come out and just give it a try. Come and watch it, or, invite their kids out to a youth camp or a flag rugby camp. And And now those kids who, were 12 and 13 at the time are now high school seniors, and they're playing, the Houston Sabercats Academy or USA under 20s or under 18s. So all these kids that we saw when they were that big, they're now that big. They're going to take our place as MLR players in the future. So that's probably what gives me the most satisfaction and the most reward in the game, is to see people stick with it and the young kids sort of come through the system and enjoying the game like they should be at that age, and really sort of pursuing their careers in a country which 5-6 years ago didn't really present many opportunities for college kids and high school kids to play professional rugby. So boys and girls alike, there's so many programs around the country now that are encouraging boys and girls to continue playing rugby and use it to get a head start in college or what it might be. So really promising.
Something that I remember, I think it was after my first game that I was sideline reporting. After the game, I did obviously like player of the match. And then I forgot who it was. They're like, oh, if you want, you can go check out the dinner. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, like both teams have dinner together after the games. I was like, wait, what? Like, that is so freaking cool. I think I was telling everyone later that week, like what I had learned. And obviously I was talking about the dinner more than everything, but something that I've noticed too with rugby, MLR, is just how close, the players are and the coaches and the team. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, rugby is sort of built on family values, if you like. And no matter where you go in the world, you'll know someone, or someone will know someone that you've played with or played against. And it's no different here in the States. So now that the league's 5 years on, you've got some player movement around the team. So you're probably going to come up against an ex-teammate or a friend. Even from people that are from overseas might have teammates playing for other teams in the MLR. So rugby, as far as I can remember, as a senior player, as an adult, whether it was a post-match beer or a post-match feed or a dinner or whatever it is, it would always, the respect between teams is apparent on the field, but probably even more so off the field. So once the game's finished, regardless of what happened in the 80 minutes inside the white lines, that's all brushed aside, and you can have a beer and you can have a meal and talk about it, or talk about other things, how your family, how your friends, things like that. So it's a special part of our game and something that we're really proud of, and something that will continue, I think, as long as the game's around. So, it's important that the teams coming to your place to play feel welcome, and that respect is shared, and that sort of starts with ownership and coaches right through to players and medical staff and support staff. So it's unique about rugby, and it's one of the good things, and it's one of the first things that people notice when they come to a game. And then the fact that people that are watching in the crowd can go and have a beer with the players after the game, and they can ask them about the game and get photos and stuff like that. So it's kind of the humbling aspect of rugby, and the thing that no one's bigger than the game in rugby. No one's too big or too famous to spend a bit of time with some fans or some kids or whatever it is. So as long as that remains intact, rugby's going to be around for a long time.
I agree. And I love it because, so I worked in soccer for I think it was 8 years before I started getting involved with rugby. But, soccer, you might see some flopping, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, nothing happened, get up, But I remember my first rugby match, I'm on sideline, and a player, I wish I could remember who it was, a player is coming off the field. He's bleeding. I'm just like, help him, oh my God. And he's just walking nothing happened. He's just and he sits down to clean him up. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's tough. But then I learned y'all get dinner together. So I was like, this is so cool.
It is literally a barbaric sport. It's mental to think, of some of the collisions and guys. And it kind of, if you get hit that hard or something happens, that almost motivates you to get back up and return the favor to the guy that did it, or, it energizes you in some weird way to make you want to play harder. So, we get taught at a young age to tackle safely. So, the laws now are kind of preventing any injuries to head and neck, and accidents happen in rugby. So arms slip up and people get caught high and they look bad. Some of them are bad, but officials and referees now are really cracking down on any dangerous type of play, and foul play is always going to be a part of it because tempers flare in rugby. But when it comes to the controlled contact, so your tackles and your rucks and your mauls and things like that, the player welfare is still at the forefront of everyone's mind. So even if that guy hit me as hard as he could, I still want to hit him as hard as I can in a fair way. I don't want to be reckless and just go out to try and hurt him and ruin his career. So again, that respect that we talk about in rugby, is still alive even in the heat of battle.
Now let's talk a little bit about New York, obviously, where you're at. And What was this year like for you? And I'm sure it was, a little bit of a change from Houston.
Yeah, it was. We left Houston last October, so we got to. My sister-in-law lives just north of New York City, a couple of hours up in the mountains. So we got to come up sort of 8 weeks before preseason started and kind of settle in, come and find a place to live and get to meet the coaches and some of the players and stuff. So that transition was really easy. And exciting at the same time. So New York, I've been to a few times on holiday, and it's an amazing city. Anyone that comes here and doesn't think so is either lying to you or didn't see the right thing. So getting a lot of the players on the team I'd played against over the preceding 4 years. So their opinions of me probably weren't as high as mine were of them because, I came from a sort of a losing team and things like that. So, but it was work, it was straight to work. And it was, for me, it was just going back to being a rugby player without having to worry about logistics and planning and recruiting and office work and all the things that, I love to do in Houston, but probably took away from my ability to perform as well as I could on the weekend. So, good mix of players here, older guys, younger guys, some World Cup winners. So for me, it was another opportunity to probably even learn some things about my game that I probably didn't already and add some tools to my game that I didn't know I had. So really competitive, but also really fun and welcoming. And it's a really family-like club as well. So Becca and the other wives and partners of all the players, created a really cool little group, and they had their own things going on and didn't revolve around our rugby thing. So their independence was great, and she got to meet some
much needed.
Yeah, big time, because it's if she's not happy, then it's I'm not, it's going to make my life harder. And if she's an independent woman and capable of doing all that kind of stuff, but when she has a good group of girls like that she can rely on, go for coffee with in the mornings, go for dinner when we're away on away games and stuff, she gets as much enjoyment out of the season as we do as players. So a very special team, and obviously a very special city. We live in Jersey City, but look across to Manhattan, and the 4th of July fireworks the other night were amazing from the patio. And
cool.
So this is our first summer here. So now that rugby's finished and we get our weekends back, we're excited to explore more of the city and the states of Jersey and New York.
Yes, and let's talk about that championship. I always tell people, I've gone to work some finals and MLS Cups and whatnot, and there's nothing like it. And obviously for an athlete, this is what you live for, moments like that.
Yeah, it was. So, all year we'd built towards sort of our theme for the year was changing the skyline. So New York's got a pretty iconic skyline. So for us as a team, it was how can we leave our mark and sort of change the skyline. And by that we mean, okay, we want to be the first team on the East Coast to win the MLR. It has always been on the West Coast, Seattle for 2 years, and then a hiatus before LA won it in 2021. And so everything was kind of driven towards that. So we played at quite a modest high school field in Hoboken, which turned out to be not very kind to us. Our away record, or our road record, was 9-1, I think, for the year, and then our home record was, I think, 3-5. Or 5-3. I think we lost a lot of games at home, so we had a weird sort of feeling about a home. So all our playoff games leading up to the championship game were on the road. We played Atlanta in Atlanta, and then we had to go back up to Boston and play New England up in Boston. And people that know American sports know Boston fans are some of the craziest, in the game. Oh, yeah. So it was a hostile environment, to say the least.
Yeah.
I had a couple of conversion kicks late in the game, and they were running down the stairs and just hurling abuse from 10 feet away, which is awesome. That's part of the game. It's not really in the spirit of rugby, but here in America, it's that's the way it goes. Oh, yeah. So you got to live with it.
Right.
And then we got to play the final at Red Bull Arena, which for the soccer fans out there, that's where New York Red Bull play. It's just in Newark, 10 minutes from where we live. They've played some rugby games there before. Some international test matches have been played sort of over the last 6 or 7 years. So unbelievable facility. The stadium's great.
Beautiful stadium.
The surface is immaculate. So turning up there on Saturday morning before, it was a 12 o'clock kickoff, which is a little strange as well. So we got there quite early, and just walking into that atmosphere, it still puts sort of tingles down my spine. And we didn't have long to prepare for it as an organization as well. So there was, I think, close to 3,000 people there, which in a big stadium doesn't sound like a lot, but they made some amazing noise, and the atmosphere was just electric. There's so much pressure leading up to it. Even in the playoffs, everything was sudden death for us. So it we couldn't afford to make mistakes. You can't afford to leave any stone unturned. You have to do all your work during the week to make sure you're ready on that Saturday. And we were, as a team, very aligned. Everything had been done. So it was almost just trusting the processes and trusting the 23 that were going to go out there and get the job done, that were going to secure the win for us and bring home the shield. So the crowd was amazing, lots of noise. The game was quite competitive. Seattle obviously had an up and down season, and then by virtue of a couple of disqualifications made their way into a home playoff spot. And then they came to Houston and beat Houston in the West Coast or the Western Conference final. So, and they'd won two previous, they won the first two MLR championships. So they had the experience and I guess the history of the big stage and the big game. So it wasn't an easy game by any stretch, and there was no way we were going to walk into it expecting to win, because they'd shown as good, if not better, form than us over the 5 weeks leading up to the playoffs. So we just had to make sure we do our homework and front it up, and fortunately we did. We were quite physical, and they bounced back, and we got far enough ahead to lock the game up with a few minutes to go. So
yeah, you scored 7 minutes before the game ended.
Yeah, I managed to kick a drop goal with about 7 minutes to go to put us out by 3 scores. So that's just that little buffer that kind of helped everyone kind of relax and was able to breathe a little bit with a bit of time left. And the celebrations obviously lasted a good few days after that, and
as it should.
It was a lot of fun.
Andy Ellis. Yeah. I mean, I was almost crying with him after the game. Yeah. Obviously, he talked about his career and retirement. So I think moments like that too, as a team, just makes it all even more worth it.
Andy's had a very decorated career. He's won World Cups. He's won Super Rugby Championships. He's won in Japan, and he came to New York wanting to have an impact on rugby here in the States. And last year they lost to Atlanta in the East Coast playoff, and so this year I think for him was almost personal. He wanted sort of redemption on that, and he wanted to everyone wants to finish their career a winner, but for him to be able to win the MLR with his family there, and there's a pretty high number of New Zealanders in the team as well. So post game, people would have seen videos of them performing a haka for Andy, which is a massive sign of respect in their culture. And it's just unbelievable. Everyone was on the field. His wife and their 2 kids were on the field. They're at an age now where they can really
I
understand
know,
the value
I saw his
of it.
daughter.
Yeah, I was shoving her into the camera. I was like, "Go and stand with him. Go and stand with him. Go and stand with him." Because she's his biggest fan for sure. So amazing family, amazing guy. He's got a big future in rugby, whether it's here in America or back in New Zealand or somewhere else in the world. We haven't seen the last of Andy Ellis, that's for sure.
Yeah. And how does it feel knowing that this is where your career has brought you?
It's sort of pinch yourself type moment, really, for me. It's all eyes are on America, especially in the rugby scene at the moment. With the MLR is getting bigger by the year. They announced the World Cup here in the men's World Cup in 2031 and the women's in 2033. So awesome. We've got a lot of work to do, but there's no denying the fact that there's still a bit rough around the edges in a lot of aspects of the participation numbers and the way men's and women's rugby's sort of growing. But it's so exciting to see. For me, I think this is where we'll be for the next the foreseeable future. Because I feel like I can have a decent impact on the game here and help it get to the level that it deserves to be at, with eyes on it nationally. I think there's more people watch it outside of America, so we need to get more people watching it here in the States, and whether that's through participation or marketing or just encouraging average people on the street to come out and watch a game, whatever it's got to take. We want more people coming to games.
For you, what do you think is the biggest change that you've seen since day one?
In terms of the sort of at major league level, it's probably the professionalism of the game and now the respect it has in sort of the professional sports arena here in the States. So just the quality of sort of stadium has to be at a certain level. The quality of play has gotten better. The quality of officiating has gotten better. The quality of the product has gotten better as a result of better players coming in. So that to me has been probably the most obvious change. And now the different pockets of fans that are popping up around the country and other teams putting their hand up to wanting to be a host city for an MLR team. So rugby's always been big in the States. It just hasn't had the exposure that it probably needs to really explode. So I can see over the next 4 or 5 years, it really, exponentially growing compared to what it has in the last 5 years. And hopefully I can be a part of it. Probably not as a player. I might be a little bit old by then, but yeah, it's going to be fun to be involved with the game, once I'm done playing.
And we'll be right back with some rapid fire questions.
I always do a little rapid fire with my guests. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. Okay, it's called Steph It Up.
Okay.
First question. Favorite rugby player growing up?
Johnny Wilkinson. It's hard to say for me because he beat Australia single-handedly in the World Cup in 2003. So very hard to say, but he's an Englishman.
Ooh, I love that. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Favorite vacation spot?
I'm going to say home because I don't get to go home often. So Australia.
That's like on my to-visit list. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. You're like, it's just home. But it's like the perfect vacation spot for so many people. Okay, next one. Attempt your best American accent.
Okay. Well, howdy, y'all. My name's Sam. I used to live in Texas, but now I live in New York City, one of the greatest cities in the world. There you go. Take that.
Love it. Yes.
Little mix.
It was like a little bit of a mix of everything. Okay, if you were stranded on a deserted island, what 3 current or past teammates would you want there with you and why?
Okay. Ooh. Current or past teammates? Let me think. Current or past? I'll probably have to say Matt Truval just because Matt, he's tall. So if, we need something up high in the trees, he can get that for us. Second one, current teammates. One of the players in the team, Canadian guy in New York, his name's Quinn Nawati, plays for the Canadian national team. He's got good energy. He's a bit of a mountaineer, if you like. He's, like from British Columbia area. So he'd probably be quite handy stranded. And then the third one, I got to play rugby with my brother. So I'd like to have my brother on the island too. So those 3. Richard,
yes.
Yeah.
Y'all would be okay.
That'd be all right. We get along really well. So it should
He'll be fine.
He's quite handy as well. He's a bit of a craftsman. So we'll be fine.
Oh, that's awesome. How many brothers do you have?
I have an older brother and 2 younger sisters.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think, maybe I saw a picture. Y'all look a lot alike.
Yeah, he's a couple years older than me, but I got called Richard my whole childhood. But
Okay, next question. And FYI, I know the answer to this question. Okay.
I have to get it right.
So I hope you get it right. Yeah. What is Becca's favorite movie?
Clueless, without a doubt.
You're good. Yeah. Good job. So she told me, she said either he will say Clueless, Hercules, or Dirty Dancing. Okay. She was like, any of those is fine. Okay. But Clueless was the first one she mentioned. So it's you got it.
Yes. She's in the background here making sure I got it right.
Oh my gosh, she's awesome. Hi, Becca.
Stephanie says hi. Hiya.
Okay, next one. If there was a movie about your life, who would play you?
Who would play me in a movie about my life?
You can ask Becca if you want. That can be like your emergency call.
Jacob Elordi? That would be your preference. Who would play me? That's such a hard question. Let's go with, I don't want to stereotype and just say an Aussie hunk. So we'll have to go, hey? No. Becca said Adam Driver because I have a big nose.
Becca. Okay, there's this one actor that I don't know what it was, like Superman or something, but he was like on like a show. I forgot that his name's. Tell Becca to Google him. Yeah, maybe she will agree. Tyler Hoechlin.
Tyler Hoechlin. Becca, do you know that guy? I sure do. She says.
She's so funny.
Pardon? Oh, Teen Wolf.
That's the show. Yes, okay. Teen Wolf. I can see that.
Okay. Tyler Hoechlin gets the role of Sam Windsor in Sam Windsor, the movie.
Coming to you.
Yeah, cinemas soon. Straight to DVD, that one.
Okay, last one. So since we know you're a big coffee guy, and apparently you're a big sneakers guy too, right?
Yeah, there's a few on the wall. There's a bit of art on the wall. There's some sneakers.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome. So this question's perfect then. If you can only buy coffee or only sneakers for the rest of your life, which one would you choose?
Oh, I could live without sneakers. I couldn't live without coffee, I don't think.
Good answer.
So coffee. Yeah.
Coffee. Mm-hmm. And that's why you will have your coffee shop.
That's why.
What's something that you have learned about yourself during your professional rugby career?
Patience is a big one. Patience is key, and being okay with not being able to fix everything on your own. I think that was probably the biggest fault, and the thing I regret most about my time in Houston was thinking that I could control everything and everything would be perfect. When at the end of the day, if you look after your own things and create a good environment and, you know, almost just sort of be that example for other people to follow, then it will normally it'll follow on and people will start doing the same thing. So, you know, had I had my time again in Houston, there would have been a lot of things I would have done differently, but trying to fix everyone and fix everything and manage everything at this, you know, it's impossible to do and no one can do it. So those two things combined are two of the massive learnings that I've had over my time here in the States.
That's such a good answer. I think people can apply that on a personal level too. Like I was just talking to someone, I forgot what interview it was, but I haven't aired it yet, so I'm not going to mention who it is. But yeah, I was just saying how that's like something I'm working on, is like just trying not to control everything. That's so crazy you mentioned that, because I do think that people can get a lot of good from just trying to just letting it happen.
And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But if you do all your work and you do your homework and you prepare accordingly, then you don't leave anything to chance. It's you and your preparation that's going to get you to where you need to go. And creating that environment as a team is obviously important. And if everyone's aligned on the same sort of thing, then it should create happiness and championships.
Yes. And what's the best advice that you've received?
The best advice I've received. My mum is a big fan of rugby, big fan of mine. She got to see a few games this year, and without sort of fault, there's two. There's one from my mum, and she would always tell me to focus till the very end, because too many times I've played games where we might lose in the last 5 minutes or whatever it might be. So that's a big one for me. And then my wife, before every game, you know, she'd make sure to tell me to have fun.
Oh, I like that.
That's why we play sport, right? To have fun. And if we don't have any fun playing it, then we probably shouldn't play it. So focus till the end and have fun. If you do those two things, then you'll walk off the field a happy person.
What's something that you think people would be surprised to learn about when it comes to rugby?
The inclusivity of it, I think, is the one thing that jumps to mind whenever anyone asks me what's so special about rugby. So boys, girls, men, women, you know, trans and LGBT plus is a massive community, and rugby is so well represented in all areas of life that no matter who you are or what you do or your beliefs, there's a place for you in rugby, and you're welcome with open arms and given an opportunity. So if people are wanting to try it out and they wanted to give it a go, then don't hesitate and reach out to someone at your local team or club and just go watch a training session or go watch a game or do something. But rugby's for everyone. And I think that's one of the most special things about it. And
what advice would you give to aspiring rugby players, especially here in the US?
It's to stay with it. It's it comes back to me realizing I can't control everything, and looking back at my career, if I'd given up when I hadn't got an opportunity at my local team, then I probably wouldn't be here today chatting with you. So just be patient and stick with it and work hard at your craft, do the extras and make sure you enjoy it. Obviously, trainings can be hard sometimes, and no one likes running lengths and doing fitness and doing weights and whatnot. But if you really want to make a career in rugby and take it as far as you can, then just stick at it. Ask for help too is another big one that I tell kids. Don't be afraid to ask people for help, whether it's with skill, with understanding the game, with life. You know, ask a senior player or someone how they can help, and I'm sure they'll be willing to give them the time. If
you weren't playing rugby, what do you think you'd be doing?
Well, it's a question I'm probably going to have to start thinking seriously about soon. My dream's always to own my own coffee shop, whether it's here in the States or back home somewhere.
Yes, I remember you mentioning that.
I still have a love for coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's at the moment, that's kind of where, end goal is. But if I wasn't playing rugby, My time at Houston, as it got on, I sort of became more involved with the off-field side of things of the game and sort of administration management side of things. So having the experiences of playing rugby around the world, I feel I can have an impact at sort of that administration level, whether it's managing being rugby operations or something like that. But just making sure the next crop of players are looked after in the way they should be, and that the game is run in a way that really benefits the players and the players are looked after. That's one thing here, I think, with MLR, they're kind of missing a few pieces to that puzzle. So if my time in rugby was to come to an end, then I'd probably look to have an impact off field and make sure that it's here for a long time and in the right hands.
I think you'll be fine. I can see you doing, like the business side of like running a rugby team or like coaching or even media.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's told you, but you're really good.
I do enjoy the media, and hopefully, I'm always open to that kind of thing, and I feel like I've got a good idea of the players in the league now. So maybe you'll see me on the sideline before you see me in the coach's box. So I don't know if you remember Matt. Do you remember Matt Truble from Matt was the other Aussie?
Yes, and he's doing sideline reporting.
He's doing some of the sideline stuff. So it was great. He was here, for the final. So to get to share, even though he wasn't playing, to get to share that experience with him was pretty special as well, considering he was there day one as well. So it was cool.
I loved seeing his excitement.
Yeah, tough for him as well, because his time in America started in Seattle, and now he lives in Seattle again with his wife and their two girls. So he was going for us for New York because I was playing, but I think part of him, obviously was with the Seattle team as well. But he's doing great.
Oh, no, y'all are, good people. I remember when I met y'all, I was like, they're players, but they're kind of coaching too? Like, wait, what?
It was madness, wasn't it?
How does that work?
It did for a little while, and then it kind of fizzled out and realized, okay, we need full-time coaches, full-time players. So
would you recommend that or absolutely
not? Not anymore. Not at the level that this league is at now. It's really hard. Mm-hmm. It's not hard to do. People can play and coach at the same time, but you can't. What I felt anyway was it kind of alienated me from my teammates, and I wasn't able to. They might have liked me or trusted me, but they didn't trust me in a way that you trust, a teammate that's, your teammate in every sense of the word. There's still that asterisk next to my name. Well, he goes to work with the coach and the president every day, so.
A little bit of like that sense of authority.
A little bit, yeah,
right?
Yeah, and when we walk onto a rugby field, we want, we're equal, and I want to be treated as an equal on and off the field. So, I wouldn't recommend it, but there comes a time in any startup that you need to do a few different jobs. So, definitely learned a lot in my time. I was grateful for that, because it definitely opened my eyes and my mind to how things work and what doesn't work and what does.
Yeah. Well, we're almost done here.
Okay.
Any fun plans during the off season?
No real plans. Hopefully play some golf. I enjoy playing golf in my downtime.
Oh, cool.
A few boys here enjoy playing it, so explore some of the Jersey and New York courses.
Nice.
Go up and see Becca's sister up in the mountains. They got a nice little place up in the Berkshires, so spend a bit of time up there. Explore New York City. I haven't had my live music fix for a while, and now the world's open back up, live music, and just I can't stop training, because if I do, my body will start to shut down. So just staying active.
Training.
And it'll be pre-season before we know it. So that, and then trying to build our supporter base and fan base here in New York, so we can pack out stadiums and hopefully bring the final back here next year and go back to back.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. Loved talking to you, and we'll be cheering you on next season. And I love ending on that note.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks for having me on. It was nice to get the invite, and more than happy to come on. And it's kind of nice to reminisce about my time in Houston, but then also get to revisit last week's championship game, and it's just it's hard to wipe the smile off the face, and it's why we play the game, and it's fortunately we got lucky and we got the win. So it's now now we know what it feels like. You want to taste it every year. So we'll see. 2023, look out.
Heck yeah. Well, we'll be cheering you on.
Awesome.
So.
Well, come visit. If you're in New York, look us up.
I'll come say hi to y'all. I would love that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Well, anytime. Thank you.